Ladies and gentlemen, hit subscribe to this channel right now. This is absolutely huge. Trump has won a landslide victory in 2024. If he does, and I think he's already committed to Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina, I think that Senator Tim Scott will be, based on the second endorsement by Trump in the past couple of weeks, will be his vice presidential pick. You will hear from President Trump the first and the second time. We'll start off with the most recent time he mentioned Tim Scott, Senator Tim Scott, and you'll hear from President Trump. You'll hear more from the senator as well. Hit subscribe to this channel. This is absolutely huge, ladies and gentlemen. Absolutely huge. The one thing that Democrats, well, there's two things. They keep saying that Trump is an operative of another country, a completely debunked fantasy from the highly apoplectic, morally superior, very educated liberal Democrats among us. And they say that Trump is a nasty human being. And so, who doesn't like many groups of people. This is all, of course, nonsense. It's basically projection from the Democratic Party. You will see the pure prejudice of the Democratic Party when Trump does officially pick Senator Tim Scott, and we'll get to that in a second. He's absolutely excellent in terms of foreign policy, the bills he's passed, veterans, a whole bunch of issues align with President Trump and Trump Republicans. And he would make a fantastic president of the United States if, God forbid, something happened to Trump. God forbid. And he would be the front runner in 2028. So hit subscribe to this channel. This is absolutely huge. Let's get to President Trump basically telling the world that he has chosen Tim Scott. This is the second time, ladies and gentlemen, in 2 weeks. The second time in 2 weeks that Trump has mentioned Tim Scott. And I believe the senator is already Trump's vice. If he picks anyone other, I love Kristi Noem. I love Tulsi Gabbard. I love Byron Donalds. I love Vivek Ramaswamy. RFK Jr. is not in the running. I love RFK Jr. But he has to pick Senator Tim Scott for a number of reasons, okay? Hit subscribe to this channel. Let's get started.
When Biden ran, he pledged he was going to pick a female vice president in 2020. What qualities are you looking for in your vice presidential pick?
Well, always the first quality has to be somebody that you think will be a good president, because if something should happen, you have to have somebody that's going to be a great president. A lot of people are talking about that gentleman right over there. And he's been so great. He's been such a great advocate. I have to say, this is in a very positive way, Tim Scott. He has been much better for me than he was for himself. I watched his campaign, and he doesn't like talking about himself, but boy, does he talk about Trump. And I said, I called him. I said, Tim, you're better for me than you were for yourself. But he's fantastic, and he's a fantastic person.
Someone who can step into the role.
Most importantly, you have to view that.
The audience has been asked who they think would be a good choice, and various names came up. One of them was, of course, Vivek Ramaswamy. Yeah. He's made a big splash. Ron DeSantis, who's making an appearance today in South Carolina, we just found out. Obviously, Tim Scott, Byron Donalds, and a big presence here for Tulsi Gabbard. Very interesting. And Kristi Noem as well, I should say. Right. Are they all on your short list? And when can we expect that you will announce your choice?
The one thing that always surprises me is that the VP choice has absolutely no impact. It's whoever the president is. It just seems. I remember when Sarah Palin was actually picked, and she did have a big up, and then they just went after her at a level that nobody's seen. The Republicans themselves went after what they did.
But you'll be a one-term president because you've already served, so you can only serve for one term, although they say you'll never leave office. I assume that you'll never leave. There'll never be another election
don't
again.
Do it. He'll never leave. He's never going. Oh, these people.
So for that reason, it is important who you pick.
So I think it's very important. But look, first is that, as we said, it has to do with whoever is, it's a very important position for that reason. You would like to get somebody that could help you from the voter standpoint. And honestly, all of those people are good. They're all good. They're all solid. And I always say, I want people with common sense, because there's so many things happening in this country that don't make sense. Who wants an open border? Who wants high interest rates? Who wants all electric vehicles? And they're fine, but you want to have choice. You want to go to combustion. You want to go to any hybrid. I think the hybrid are much better from that standpoint. But we were talking about faucets. We're talking about machines. We're talking about so much. It's all based on common sense.
So if you're new to the channel, hit subscribe. I'll be back also at 10 p.m. Eastern this evening. So be here at 10 p.m. Eastern. But ladies and gentlemen, this is absolutely huge. He is going to pick Senator Tim Scott. And this is the second time in a matter of 2 weeks. Okay, we'll get to the first time in a second. But you look at a person who could withstand... first of all, it ain't going to be DeSantis. That would be a horrendous pick. An absolutely terrible, horrendous pick. Because you don't want somebody that's going to betray you, in the blink of an eye. I love Tulsi Gabbard. I think Kristi Noem is great. I love Vivek. Byron Donalds is amazing. But I don't think that, because Senator Tim Scott's been in the Senate since 2012. You have a senator who's been in the Senate since 2012. He is an excellent communicator. He has passed a great deal of legislation. He's done a lot of work for veterans. His foreign policy is in line with Trump's. Most importantly, Senator Scott will not be influenced or intimidated by media or by intelligence agencies. And that's what you need in a president. You need a certain level of wisdom and autonomy. Okay, you can't have wisdom as a president if you don't have the autonomy, if you don't have the willingness to ignore all of these interests around you, especially our wonderful, very important intelligence agencies. And so you look at what took place with Bush, Cheney, and Rumsfeld. They said, Intel says that we had to go in because of weapons of mass destruction. And so that was, of course, false. And then you have the intelligence debacles with Biden. We can go on forever. So you need somebody to withstand the pressure to send Americans abroad. And you have that with Senator Tim Scott. Let's listen to President Trump for the second time. I mean, the first time with Maria Bartiromo.
Will you announce who your VP is?
Not for a while. I mean, we have so many great people in the Republican Party, but not for a while.
Well, what criteria are you using to identify who your running mate is?
Always, it's got to be one thing. It's got to be who would be a good president. I mean, you always have to think that because, in case of emergency, things happen, right? No matter who you are, things happen. It's got to be number one.
Who is your running mate?
Well, I have a lot of good people. We have a lot of really good people.
So you haven't decided who it is?
I have a lot of good ideas, but I haven't. And there's no reason to do that quickly.
So you haven't told that person, you're my person?
I speak to everybody. I called Tim Scott because a lot of people like Tim Scott. I called him and I said, you're a much better candidate for me than you are for yourself. When I watched Tim, he was fine. He was good, but he was very low-key, et cetera, et cetera. I watched him in the last week defending me and sticking up for me and fighting for me. I said, you're a much better person for me than you are for yourself, because for himself he was low key. For me, he's been a real tiger. He's been incredible, and others have too.
So maybe it's Tim Scott.
Well, it could be a lot of people, but it was interesting. I was watching Tim. I've been watching, for a while. I watched him campaign as a candidate, but I watched him over the last 2 weeks. As you know, he fully endorsed me, gave me a beautiful endorsement. And he has been really strong in terms of that. No, but that has nothing to do. I don't want anybody to take even any inference, but it's incredible. Kristi Noem has been incredible fighting for me. She said I'd never run against him because I can't beat him. That was a very nice thing to say.
What was the story that your team reached out to RFK Jr.?
It's a false story. No, it's a false story.
You never reached out to RFK Jr.?
I like him a lot. Nope, never happened.
Is it fair to believe that you would have a number of your former officials in your new cabinet?
I will put some back. I'll tell you, I came to Washington having spent almost no time in my life in Washington.
I know. You said
and
that.
all of a sudden I'm president. And I wasn't into Washington society. So I was not a Washington. I was a New York person. I was a New York builder.
Well, you were an outsider, and that's why
I was a
they had
totally
it in
outsider.
for you.
But the one problem with that, and I love the outsider thing, but you don't know people, so you're relying on other people to give you names to be the head of this, head of that. And by the way, we had unbelievable people. We had some, look, I rebuilt the military.
Yeah, but your critics say you had plenty of personnel mistakes.
No, of course, but everybody does. Obama had. What about Biden? Look at the people running this Biden thing. The difference is I fire people. I fired Comey. I got rid of him.
You didn't fire Christopher Wray.
Well, you know what? At the time, I don't know. Let's see what the final judgment is. But I didn't fire Christopher Wray. I didn't fire people I would have, but I fired a lot of people. You know, I had turnover. They have no turnover right now.
How do you know if you get back in, you don't have a network of people around you working against you?
I will, and so will anybody else that gets in as a Republican. These people are sick.
So that is a huge issue. I think that the candidates that he has, if he picks Senator Tim Scott, Dr. Ben Carson is fantastic, but he hasn't been a senator. You look at Kristi Noem as a governor; she's fantastic, but I don't know. He hasn't been in the Senate since 2012, like Senator Scott. Byron Donalds is wonderful, but he is a congressman from New York. He's been in Congress several years now, or about a year and a half or so. So you have an unbeatable ticket. You have an unbeatable ticket. And the thing is, you're going to have... Oh, again? Okay, hold on one second. How is the sound now, ladies and gentlemen? How's the sound? Let's do a sound check really quickly. Sound okay? You gotta tell me, ladies and gentlemen. Okay, great. All right, so... Okay, good. So you're not going to be able to defeat Trump if you can't. The only thing Democrats have is that Trump is a nasty person. He's prejudiced. He's bigoted. And that's the only thing that they have. So from a political aspect, Democrats, all they do is focus on their morally superior view of optics, what they consider optics, okay? Which for them is, the basis of that is a very insidious prejudice, okay? When they choose, when congressmen or senators or congresswomen or the vice president is chosen by Biden, they outwardly say, we're going to choose this person with this background. You watch how Trump is treated and how Senator Tim Scott, Saturday Night Live, and others have already disrespected Senator Tim Scott. You see the disrespect and you see the blatant bigotry from Democrats and media. They pontificate about how Republicans aren't diverse, and then you will watch when Trump picks Senator Tim Scott, the hypocrisy will be flowing like never before. They'll say, he only did this to show that he wasn't prejudiced. Well, you can't be. If you are giving the potential presidency, Trump knows that the vice president takes over if, God forbid, the president can't continue his job. You can't be a prejudiced person and give the presidency to Tim Scott. It doesn't work that way. You can't simply be this prejudiced, nasty human being. Okay, Democrats will of course say, well, Trump still is, and that's not, the real person is really nasty. The rest of the world will see. Actions speak louder than words. Actions speak louder than the political maneuvering of Democrats or their accusations against Trump. So you look, ladies and gentlemen, and it's like, there's no way, there is just no way that they lose. There's simply no way that Trump loses. You can look at, and we'll get to more of Tim Scott, you can look at his website. You look at the issues: foreign affairs, healthcare, job creation, conservative values, bridging the wealth gap, defense, empowering the innovation economy, energy, fighting big government. These are all good things. These are all very good things. So you can look at the things he's accomplished, which have been plentiful, but you don't want somebody who's going to betray Donald Trump. And then you have the fact that Tim Scott has been around long enough to get endorsed by the Washington Post. So an article endorsed him in 2012 to be senator in South Carolina. So you can't, oh, that's right, Byron Donalds, I'm sorry, in Florida, sorry. I apologize, but you can't go ahead and, here's an article in the Washington Post, endorsing Trump. Okay. Sorry, Byron Donalds is from Florida. I apologize. I said New York. But you look, ladies and gentlemen, he's been around long enough for the Washington Post to have endorsed him. This is pretty important. It's important for a number of reasons, because then you can always look back and say, oh, okay, whatever it is they throw at him to try to get him to turn on Trump, it ain't going to work, because mainstream had already supported Senator Scott. He's been around long enough in Congress to have enough gravitas, to have enough a political base that media can't touch him. You saw how he defended his viewpoint very admirably at The View. The ladies at The View couldn't touch him. No, media cannot touch Senator Tim Scott, because it's not only about who he is, it's about what he's accomplished. They can't touch what he's accomplished. Let's listen to Senator Scott endorsing Trump. I mean, it's an unbeatable ticket, ladies and gentlemen, completely unbeatable. You're not gonna. This is a landslide victory. He'll win Michigan. All he has to do, all Trump has to do, is win Michigan, and then it could be very well a landslide. Because he wins Michigan, he could win Pennsylvania. There's a chance he wins Wisconsin. Okay, so it could be very well a landslide victory. But let's continue. Hit subscribe if you're new to this channel.
People, you know, they're bad people. But tonight I'm truly honored to bring a man on stage, and I've known him for a long time, and we just happened to get lucky. I talked about opportunity zones. I said, I wonder if we could get him in from Washington. He travels very quickly because he does happen to be with us, and he gave me a tremendous endorsement 2 days ago, and he's going to say a few words to you, and he's a highly respected gentleman, and he's a wonderful friend. And remember, he's, you know, I'm running against somebody from his state, so it's not that easy to do. I mean, she is running from the state of South Carolina, which, by the way, where I'm leading her by over 50 points, so I don't know what the hell kind of a job she did, but in South Carolina. But he's a senator from South Carolina. He's a fantastic man, Tim Scott.
Let me see. Is this Donald Trump country? Oh, yeah. Let's see. I can't hear you. I can't hear you. You know, we love you too, Tim. Thank you. Let me say, we need a president who will close our southern border today. We need Donald Trump. We need a president. We need a president who will unite our country. We need Donald Trump.
By the way, ladies and gentlemen, when you hear Senator Tim Scott speak, you have to also understand how Democrats view any person of color who supports Trump. You have to understand the true insidious nature of how wonderful, morally superior, highly educated Democrats view diversity. They don't want diversity of thought. And so the true prejudice comes from within the Democratic Party. They see, just like when Biden told Charlemagne the God, "You're not who you are if you don't vote for me," Democrats have this arrogance, this hubris, this entitled, very nasty, insidious viewpoint on diversity and politics. It's okay if you're diverse and liberal, but if you're diverse and conservative, oh my God, you've betrayed some kind of imaginary sacred cow that Democrats worship. Democrats are about image. Look what's taking place. More human beings entering the country have lost their lives at the border than ever before, and Democrats don't care. Anyway, let's continue. The way that Democrats view anyone that they feel shouldn't support Trump exposes their true bigotry.
We need a president who will protect your Social Security and my mama's Social Security. We need Donald Trump. We need a president today who will stop the crime and recklessness in the streets. We need a president who will restore law and order. We need Donald Trump. Oh, we need a president who will lower our taxes and not raise our taxes. We need a president like Donald Trump. We need a president who understands the American people are sick and tired of being sick and tired. We need a president our foreign adversaries are afraid of and our allies respect. We need a president who doesn't see black or white. We see a president who sees Americans as one American family. We need. And that's why I came to the very warm state of New Hampshire to endorse the next president of these United States, President Donald Trump.
Thank you, Tim. That's great. Very, very good man and a very respected man, and I appreciate that he came all the way over. You know, you could just put it out over truth. We got to go with truth. It's the best. but we put it out, and just a respected guy, and having his endorsement means a lot. We have tremendous numbers of endorsements. They're pouring in right now. But having Tim is very important. So now is the time, and you see that through what was just said, for the Republican Party to unify. We have to unify. We have to go after these crazy people that we're dealing with. Instead of wasting hundreds of millions of dollars attacking Trump and others, we need to come together and focus all our energy and resources in defeating crooked Joe Biden, our worst president. It's the worst president. Sadly, not everyone is willing to put our country first. We have to put America first. Here in New Hampshire, Nikki Haley has made an unholy alliance with rhinos, never Trumpers, Americans for no prosperity. Did you ever hear of Americans for no prosperity? Globalists and radical left communists to get liberals and Biden supporters to vote for her in the Republican primary, because that's what they do. They questioned me about that today. They said, oh, Democrats don't vote. They already signed up almost 5,000 Democrats to vote. That's your governor's fault. He could have ended that very easily, but he doesn't do the job. Maybe he's got something else in mind. I think he's lazy, actually. You want to know the truth? In Iowa, nearly 50% of Haley's voters said they were voting for Biden in November. So the people that voted for her, and think of it, 50% said they're going to vote for Biden in November. And now the leftists are spending millions and millions of dollars to flood your airways with Nikki propaganda. It's Nikki propaganda. And she's not going to do the job. I can.
Why?
So, ladies and gentlemen, you look and it's unbeatable. Unbeatable, because you're going to have Trump defeat Nikki Haley by 30 points in South Carolina. Okay? That's going to happen, okay, this Saturday, the 24th. So, you have, ladies and gentlemen, momentum going into November like you've never seen, especially with the Supreme Court ruling 9-0. I mean, it has to be 9-0, or let's say 8-1 or 7-2 in favor of Trump. Okay, so he dominates the Republican primary. He wins a landmark Supreme Court decision. He'll probably get convicted in New York, but nobody cares. Okay? Nobody will care about the hush money conviction. But you have to look at the strategy behind this. Tim Scott has been in Congress as senator since 2012. Media cannot touch him. Media can go after Vivek. They can go after Kristi Noem. They can go after a lot of people. Okay, they might be able to go after Byron Donalds just because he hasn't been in Congress that long. Although I love Byron Donalds. This is very, very good news. This is excellent news. Trump has won an easy victory if he picks Senator Tim Scott. Okay, it's not just about the quote-unquote Democratic Party optics, but it's a very, very it's a complete rebuke of the absurd nonsense they level at Trump. Oh, he's prejudiced. Trump is a bigot. Well, nobody who fits that description would choose Senator Tim Scott or any person of color for vice president. And Democrats are all into the optics when it suits them. And then you will see the actual bigotry when Trump picks Senator Tim Scott. You will see the insidious, arrogant, overt prejudice. He's definitely presidential material. Definitely. He's been in the Senate since 2012. And he hasn't been he hasn't been influenced by the Mitt Romneys or the Liz Cheneys of the world. He hasn't been influenced by the Mitch McConnell. I think he's already picked Senator Tim Scott because he, as you can see in the beginning of this live stream, that's twice. He has overtly mentioned Senator Scott twice, and in interviews, there's no reason for him to do that other than because he actually picked Senator Scott and he wanted to hear the feedback. So let's listen to more of Senator Scott. But this is a fantastic pick, ladies and gentlemen. I'm telling you, it is a fantastic, fantastic pick. Okay. It's really, really an amazing pick. And there's no way Trump loses. Because the thing is, you don't want, if it was Carrie Lake, for example, they could say, well, she hasn't won. Kristi Noem, they'll find some, something. Vivek, they'll look into his businesses and the media will be apoplectic and hysterical about something. DeSantis would be a terrible, terrible, terrible pick because he would betray Trump in 2 seconds. Senator Tim Scott, like I said, has been there since 2012. He already understands media. He understands the intelligence agencies. He understands government. He understands the Republican Party. He understands never Trumpers, and he's because of that, he's able to withstand any type of negative influence from them. So I think he's absolutely perfect. And the only thing they have against Trump is that, oh my God, he's this prejudiced person. Well, that flies out the window if he picks Senator Tim Scott, who, if God forbid something happens to Trump, could be the second black man as president in the history of our country. Okay? Democrats never did that. So, let's listen to Senator Tim Scott.
Thank you very much. Thank you. I outkicked my coverage, just the way it works. So, since I got engaged this past weekend, I've been feeling a little poetic. Do y'all mind if I try some poetry on y'all? Roses are red, violets are blue. Firing Joe Biden is just a thing to do. Now, you may be asking the question, why? Under Joe Biden, law and order is out the window. They have defunded the police. It is time to put Donald Trump back in the White House and refund the police. We must respect every single man and woman in blue. Our streets depend on it. As a kid who grew up in poverty and in some poor neighborhoods, we wanted more police, not less police. But Joe Biden and those DAs that believe in no cash bail, they're destroying inner cities. They're destroying our nation. It is time to put Donald Trump back in the White House. Under Joe Biden, inflation has been as high as 9% in a single month. Young people today can't even afford to buy a home. But when we had President Donald J. Trump in the White House, inflation was only 2%. We had the greatest economy in my lifetime. Not only did we have 2% inflation, we had the lowest unemployment in 70 years for women. An all-time low for black folks and Hispanics and Asians. The majority of y'all, 50-year low. Donald Trump delivers, not for black people, not for white people, not for Hispanics, but for Americans. He loves Americans. Red, white, and blue. I heard every beauty pageant, someone says, what do they want? They want world peace. I'm not saying Donald J. Trump is a good-looking dude, don't get me wrong. But what I am saying is if you want world peace, you want Donald Trump. Think about it, though. Think about it. Today, we have China coming into Cuba, the Iranians near Brazil, Ukraine. You remember the day? Did y'all say yay? Boo is right. An invasion and an incursion before Donald Trump, an incursion after Donald Trump. How about in the Middle East? Israel headed, women raped, and we had a better economy.
Tim Scott is 100% right about foreign policy. Okay, 100% right, and he shares Trump's foreign policy. He's not going to send Americans to never-ending military conflict, but he's going to prevent catastrophes from taking place. And he was talking about the catastrophes that took place under Biden that wouldn't have taken place under Trump. Byron Donalds is fantastic, but he hasn't been in Congress that long. Okay, so the issue, ladies and gentlemen, is you want somebody who media cannot touch. Media cannot touch Senator Tim Scott. Okay? If anything, going after Tim Scott will be the same as going after Trump. The opposite reaction, the opposite outcome takes place. They're going to try to, I believe Trump has to pick him. Trump has to pick him. Trump is unbeatable with Senator Tim Scott. Completely unbeatable. Because you have a decade of congressional experience. You have somebody who won't betray you, like DeSantis will. Okay? You have somebody who understands the Republican Party, the government, the defense, industry, the military industrial complex. Eisenhower told us about that. You have somebody who understands all of these things and understands the insidious, prejudicial nature of media and Democrats. The more they go at Saturday Night Live, MSNBC, they've all gone after Tim Scott. It hasn't worked because it shows their blatant bigotry. When they go after Tim Scott, they'll show how bigoted that they are. Democrats, media, pundits, comedians. Look what they did to Herschel Walker in Georgia. Look what they did to him. How disrespectful they were to Herschel Walker. Okay? Because Tim Scott has been in Congress as senator for so long, they cannot do that to Senator Tim Scott. Okay? He has the gravitas. So, I mean, there's no way that Trump loses. Paul Bartlett, thank you again. Thank you, Paul. There's just no way. Thank you as always, Paul. To my super chat, thank you. There's just no way that Trump loses. Because the one thing Democrats can always go back on is that, oh my God, Trump is a nasty human being. We can't do that anymore. So let's just really quickly let's talk about this really quickly. MSNBC Democrats made a huge issue of this. This is the best thing. This is the only thing they had. They made a huge issue of this moment. Okay, let me ask you if you saw something egregious, so egregious and humiliating. MSNBC and Democrats and pundits said this was the most humiliating moment in the history of Senator Scott's career. Let me ask you, do you see anything humiliating here? What is the big deal? Okay, let's play this.
I love it. But, she forgot one thing. Next week, it's Nevada. It's not South Carolina. We love South Carolina, but next week, it's Nevada. And I'm pleased to announce we just won Nevada. We just won 100%. Because all of them, they looked at it and they took polls, and I was polling at 95% to 4 or 5%. And they decided not to play in Nevada. So we just won Nevada. We have a man from Nevada here, Steve Wynn, wherever he may be. And John Paulson, the great John Paulson, made plenty of money in Nevada. Doesn't live there, but he makes a hell of a lot of money. He makes money everywhere he goes, actually. So money machine. Well, maybe we'll put you know what? Put him at Treasury. You want to make a little money? Let's put you. Anyways, good to have you guys. But we go to Nevada, and that's been won. So we pick up all of those delegates. And then we do go to South Carolina, where we've done really well, where I've done well. We have a great governor and lieutenant governor and great everything, because almost every one of them have endorsed me. 2 great senators, which is hard. I mean, did you ever think that she actually appointed you, Tim? And think of it, appointed, and you're the senator of his state, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a shame. It's a shame. Uh-oh.
I just love you.
No, that's why he's a great politician. That's why he's a great politician.
What was the big deal here? Oh my God, what was the big deal? Oh my God, MSNBC had a whole segment here. Oh my God, it was so humiliating. I think the Washington Post or other publications, oh, Senator Tim Scott was humiliated. What was so humiliating? It was even Trump, and this is how they always lie about Trump. Trump said no. You can hear him say no right here. Like he's just joking here.
Every one of them have appointed, and you're the senator of his state, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. No, it's a.
He goes, no. It was a joke. What was so humiliating about that? Okay? There was nothing humiliating. Democrats always make their sensibilities into reality. Democrats have these absurd, apoplectic, oftentimes hysterical sensibilities. And when Charlemagne the God is insulted by Joe Biden, when Joe Biden tells Charlemagne the God, you are not who you are unless you vote for me, MSNBC says nothing. You will not. That is a humiliating moment. Or it's not even humiliating. It's like an insulting moment. But there's nothing humiliating or insulting here. Trump didn't try to get Senator Scott to demean to demean Nikki Haley. Okay? There was nothing like, this is the only thing they have. And nobody cares about this. That's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. You have to understand, the only thing they were able to do to Senator Scott was this moment. I don't know if I'm communicating this correctly, or that you're understanding what I'm trying to convey. The only thing they have on Senator Tim Scott was that Trump, in their minds, tried to humiliate him by saying that he dislikes Nikki Haley. So what? There are a great many voters who dislike Nikki Haley. Who cares? Why would that be humiliating? But what Democrats do is they actively suppress indignation when, for example, Joe Biden makes the most insulting comment to Charlemagne the God, while trying to foment this very bizarre indignation with this exchange. And where was the humiliation? This is just banter like a discussion among two politicians. Happens all the time with the Democratic Party. I mean, things Joe Biden made, I don't even want to get into it. He made a gesture with his hand on one of the liberal networks where the female broadcaster had to basically ignore the gesture. Okay, so it was very bizarre. I don't even want to get into it. Okay, Joe Biden does things on a daily basis that if Senator Scott or Trump did them, it would be like, oh my God, humiliation. Oh, the whistling. Oh, all of this. But that's the only thing they had was this moment. Was this moment a humiliation for either individual? No. Categorically, demonstrably wasn't humiliating to anyone. Who cares if Senator Tim Scott disliked Nikki Haley or liked Nikki Haley? What does it matter? Who cares if Trump was joking around? He even said, nah, just joking. You heard him say, no, just joking. But that's the thing. I mean, it's like they don't have anything. They cannot touch Trump and the ladies at The View, CNN, the New York Times, Washington Post, MSNBC, the Atlantic, Rolling Stone, The Nation, Mother Jones, all of these publications can't touch Senator Tim Scott. They can disparage other candidates. They cannot disparage Tim Scott. And if they try too hard to do so, nobody will care, or people will then actually see the true bigotry. Okay, the most prejudicial people are those on the left who don't want diversity within Trump's campaign because they feel that it's disrespectful or a betrayal of their sacred cows. You can only be diverse and liberal. You can't be diverse and conservative because then immediately the entire disgusting marketing and public relations network from Saturday Night Live to late night comedians, they all come after you. There's nothing John Oliver or Seth Meyers or Stephen Colbert or Kimmel or anyone can do to Senator Tim Scott. There's nothing that any of these comedians can do to hurt Senator Scott or Trump. Okay, not so like with Vivek. Love Vivek. Congressman Donalds is fantastic. He's fantastic, but he hasn't been in Congress that long. Kristi Noem, they could try to turn her into a Sarah Palin. Okay, she's very good though, but they can try to do to her what they did to Sarah Palin. I mean, it's completely unbeatable. I mean, Trump has already picked Senator Scott in my view, but it's a landslide. It's a already Trump is up and he's going to win. So I'll be right about that also. But we'll have a 9-0 Supreme Court ruling very soon, or 8-2 or 8-1 or 7-2. But it'll be a landmark Supreme Court ruling overturning Colorado. The fraud case, actually, Trump has gained from that popularity. So every time they indict Trump, every time they try to do something against him, the opposite takes place. So I mean, it's like they call this exchange humiliating. This is the only thing that they have against Senator Scott. There was nothing, literally nothing humiliating about this. Democrats use the word humiliation when they try so desperately to create a controversy about Trump's personality. And so in their warped perspective, everything's humiliating. And what they're really telling you is they have nothing on Senator Scott. So they choose this moment in time to say that somebody like bowed to Trump, which didn't happen. It was a discussion between two politicians. Where was the humiliation? If the reverse were true, Trump wouldn't care. You could see Senator Tim Scott didn't care. It wasn't a big deal at all. Anyway, you look, ladies and gentlemen, and let's go ahead.
actor. He has no.
Let's listen to Senator Tim Scott talking about Trump in 24.
Runs for president?
Well, you did a great job. I mean, think about the fact that Ronald Reagan said he can't win. He's just an actor. He has no ability to appeal beyond California, beyond conservatives, beyond independents. Here's what we know. 49 out of 50 states later, Ronald Reagan did what no other president has done. Number one. Number two, the good news about President Trump is this. In New Hampshire, liberals voted, Democrats voted, independent voters all voted in the New Hampshire Republican primary. And what was the result? A double-digit win. And here's what's really cool from my perspective. Donald Trump didn't just win with seniors. He didn't just win with women. He didn't just win with millennials. He won with all three demographics. Listen, Mark, Donald Trump won millennials by the largest margin against Nikki Haley, 58-36, I think it was. He won women against Nikki Haley. He won seniors. When you go to New Hampshire, where it's an open primary, where liberals and Democrats and independents are joining Republicans, Donald Trump cleaned house. And now we're bringing that to South Carolina, a more conservative group of people. But here's what you'll see. Today, 1 out of 5 black folks are looking at the Great Opportunity Party. Why? Because Donald Trump delivered when he was president, and we have good memories. Today, 40+% of Hispanics are looking at Donald Trump and the GOP. Why? Because Donald Trump brought the lowest unemployment rate to Hispanics in the history of the country. See, Hispanics are like black people who are like white people who are like Asians. We care about family values. We care about a secure southern border. We care about safety in our streets. There's no monolith that exists only in the minds of liberals and Democrats. Can they say the color of your skin will determine how you're going to vote? Donald Trump is changing everything we know about American politics today, and that's good news for a nation. He has the chance to unite the party, unite the country behind success. That's what we have from 2017 to 2020, and it's coming back 2024. Starting in January 2025, we'll have lower taxes back on the menu. We'll have low inflation back on the menu. We'll have low crime and high levels of law enforcement back on the menu for the American people. That's good news, Mark. And thank you. You are a teller of truth. You are a purveyor of hope. You are an ambassador for what's good about America.
So imagine if Trump was able to defeat Clinton in 2016 with Mike Pence, okay, who constantly betrayed Trump. Okay, think about that for a second. If he was able to defeat Clinton in 2016, imagine what he'll do in 2024 with somebody as wonderful as Senator Tim Scott. And by the way, there's a huge difference between Senator Scott and former Governor Pence. The difference is that one is entrenched in the Republican Party. Mike Pence was the embodiment of the Never Trump Republican Party. Tim Scott is not. Tim Scott understands the negative elements of the Republican Party and the positive elements of President Trump. And he's by the way, Senator Scott's like in all over the place throughout Fox News and other stations defending Trump. So that's not by accident. They cannot be beat. And if there's anyone, I don't know, but if there's anyone in Trump's campaign that watches this channel, I don't know if they do, please tell former President Trump and future President Trump that the way to win without any problems at all, guaranteed victory, is with Senator Tim Scott as vice president. There's nothing that media and liberal Democrats and publications and the public relations monstrosity can do against Senator Tim Scott. Nothing. Because he's been in Congress for too long, and he's too intelligent, and he's too good at communicating and expressing his values and his viewpoints. Let's just finish this up really quickly.
from New Hampshire was really important. The young millennials who came out to support Nikki Haley said in a general election, Nikki Haley versus Joe Biden, they're leaving Nikki Haley and they're going back home to Joe Biden. They said they voted in the Republican primary to make it harder for President Trump to win. But even in the demographic that they represent, Donald Trump, he won 58-42, 58-35. So what we know for sure is whatever they're selling, Americans are not buying. Number one. Number two, think about this. You may have a quasi understanding of where Nikki stands on issues, but you have a clear understanding of where President Trump stands on the issues. Let's think about the number one issue facing this nation today. President Trump is crystal clear that securing the southern border with a wall is absolutely, positively, unequivocally job number one. The largest invasion in the history of the country has come across a port in this nation. I believe, Mark, and this is not being hyperbolic whatsoever, I believe that because 10 million illegal immigrants have crossed, that hundreds of people on our national security watch list have been caught at our southern border. Mark, 10 million people? How many is national security threat to America today? It's not in Europe. It's not even in the Middle East. It's here at home. We should stand strong by our ally Israel, but we also should secure our southern border now. That should be a silo package supporting Israel, a silo package securing our southern border before we have a conversation about anything else. If America's not the city on the hill, if we are not the shining star economy, sweeps out Bidenomics and brings in more Trump tax cuts.
You know, Tim Scott, they have to work hard to trump the legal system. Incoming, now, they're big.
So he was on Mark Levin. He's been on a number of shows the past couple of weeks. Kristi Noem has not. Vivek Ramaswamy has not. They're all great. But I don't think that you can defeat Trump and Senator Scott. I just don't think you can defeat Trump and Senator Scott for a number of reasons that I talked about. He's too intelligent and he possesses wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. Wisdom. Something that Biden can't even pronounce and lacks. Wisdom. Okay? Wisdom is Trump possesses wisdom. Okay? Bill Clinton. Oh, finally, you bring up my name. Bill Clinton possessed a decent amount, not in the Oval Office, but in terms of foreign policy, just trying to be objective, a certain amount of wisdom, okay? Reagan had wisdom. Trump definitely has wisdom. Senator Tim Scott has wisdom. Bush, no wisdom, okay? Intelligence, he possesses a good deal of wisdom. He possesses a good deal of the ability to ignore loud, obnoxious voices. Okay? There's nothing that Democrats can do to disparage this man. And the only thing Democrats do with media and late night and comedians and publications and cable stations and newspapers is it's a public relations monstrosity aimed at tearing down and destroying one's character. And they would do that to Nikki Haley in a second if she were nominee, and she would fold in a second. She would lose by 20 million votes. Trump is on his way to victory. It's secured and cemented with Senator Tim Scott. So hit subscribe to this channel, ladies and gentlemen. God bless you. To my super chat, I cannot thank you enough. Ladies and gentlemen, I just thank you so very much. I'll be here at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. But people, thank you so much. This is an exciting year. And I'm so glad that, you've supported this channel. We're on our way to 220,000 subscribers, and actually 300,000 subscribers is within range even by November. So tell your friends, share this everywhere. It's very important. I love this man. I'm telling you, I love Senator Tim Scott. I do. Vivek is fantastic. I love Tulsi Gabbard. Byron Donalds is fantastic. But this senator who has been in the Senate since 2012, media can't touch him, which makes it an imperative for Trump to pick Senator Scott. Hit subscribe. I'll see you at 10 p.m. Eastern tonight. Thanks, everybody.